Let's talk about Media Behavior Institute. Can you tell us a bit about your company?
Media Behavior Institute is a startup, and it's a small company that began in August of 2011, and we bring USA Touchpoints to the world. Touchpoints is a research data system that was started in the UK. It's a consumer insight research company that was started in the UK by the Institute for Practitioners in Advertising about 6 years ago, and we licensed their technique. And what we bring the industry is new insight into the contextual environments in which advertising is consumed. We ask consumers to keep track on a smartphone and their app, our app, of where they are, what they're doing, who they're with, what kind of media they've been exposed to, and their moods and emotions every half hour. It's a very simple system. It's icon driven, and people just update their status every half hour. And so as a result, we have new insights into the environments in which advertising is consumed, the social setting, when husbands and wives are together, when moms and kids are together. And I think we're providing a whole new way of looking at the consumer and understanding consumer behavior.
Can you talk about some of the surprising takeaways that you've seen so far in the data?
Well, the most surprising things are coming out of simultaneous use of media at the same time or within the same half hour. We learned things like social media and television is not a particularly positive emotional mindset for people. And it appears that someone reaches for their a tablet or for their computer when they're bored watching television, or they're feeling lonely or frustrated or overwhelmed. So we see a whole series of negative emotions associated with the simultaneous use of both those media. So that's been very interesting. Some of our more interesting findings, just from a purely intellectual standpoint, have come from our emotion and mood work. Three universities have our data right now and are exploring it from their vantage point. The psychologists at Northeastern University have our data, the behavioral economists at Carnegie Mellon have our data, and then modeling work coming out of Stanford. So to really understand, the impact of all of these contextual variables on either buying behavior or shopping and things like that. So our mood and emotion data is just so fertile and so full of fun insights. We've learned that men typically are in better moods than women almost every half hour of the day, except on Friday night. I think it's when women finally relax and have a very good, a good Friday night. We've learned that the South is much more likely to be in a good mood than the Northeast. And of course it has a lot to do with weather and sunshine, but it also has to do with the culture of the people and their general attitudes about life. So I think the emotion work has really been the most interesting thing for me personally. And I think understanding emotions is really one of the next frontiers. There's so much work being done here in the area of emotion and mindset and receptivity.
How long has Touchpoints been in existence, and can you talk a little bit about the English version of it, the British version?
I believe the UK is about 8 years ahead of us in working with Touchpoints. And it was put together as a very large cross-media measurement service for the BBC. And people really liked it, and it was conducted on a PDA. And it's a very elaborate and long and involved study of where people are and what they're doing and who they're with. And it really provides a half hour by half hour view of all the media that's being consumed and then all the other causal variables that will be happening. And they've done a great job continuing to learn about their service, how to do it. So much of the work that we had done originally in our pilot stage was, will someone keep this app for 10 days, which is the time period we keep them in our study, and will they keep track of their behavior every half hour? So a lot of methodological issues that they had addressed that gave us a very quick head start on working here in the US. And then we are the licensors throughout the world, and someday we will be in every emerging and unemerging markets out there.
Have you found differences in the UK results of the data versus the American results of the data? And if so, what are they?
Well, it's a pretty interesting thing. For the most part, human behavior is human behavior. And I'm surprised with the number of similarities in the levels on a daily basis of people commuting or watching television or spending time with children or going to school, those kinds of variables. It's really just a matter of, two highly developed markets, and there are quite a bit of similarities. I thought the United States was particularly happy, and the UK is as happy as the US, just for instance. They definitely use more magazines and newspapers. Those markets have stayed there in the UK more than they have in the US. They have slightly higher uses of the internet on a daily basis. They don't spend nearly as much time in their car as we do, which means that we tend to be a little bit more frustrated because of spending time in cars. But other than that, I was struck by the degree of commonality that I saw in the data between the two countries.
So what are the applications for advertisers? If you know somebody's frustrated when they reach for their tablet while watching television, is there an advertising message to be learned?
Oh, I think there are a lot of applications for the mood, emotion, and media data. For one thing, you understanding how people generally feel when they're in a particular state, you can fine-tune your message to that experience. Instead of assuming that CEOs are all raring to go and full of hope and confidence at 7 o'clock at night, and writing an ad that appeals to their confidence and their strength, you might look in our data and see that they're not feeling hopeful and confident at 7 o'clock at night. They have expended that energy in the workplace, and when they come home, those emotions aren't in play in their lives. And so you would fine-tune a message. Maybe you would be more nurturing to a CEO and say, "Oh my God, well, you had a really tough day. Here's how our product can help you when you're feeling like this." So fine-tuning messages, fine-tuning the type of things you tell people, the manner in which you speak to people can really be enhanced by understanding the emotional mindset or the surrounding. If you're trying to talk to someone and they're immersed with their brothers and sisters and their parents and their kids, and it becomes a very chaotic kind of environment, I think you need to either send a different type of message or work in a different type of medium. So really, it's about understanding the context that human beings are operating in and either sending them the message on the right medium or with the right device, or fine-tune what it is you're saying to them to meet that situation.
Can you give us an example with an advertiser or a category?
I think financial services and banking is a great example of the interplay between emotion and mindset and how you talk to someone in that category. Women tend to be a little warier, a little more frustrated when they're doing banking online, and there are particular times of the day when a bank might want to send them messages about reassuring them that there will be someone, on the 800 number, someone who's really, a skilled person who will talk to them to overcome their, concerns and their frustrations and their worry about engaging in financial services. And then there are men, tend to be a little bit more confident in this category, and you can fine-tune your message to their sense of confidence and task-orientedness and getting things done easily with online banking. We have seen that online banking emotions tend not to be uniformly positive. People do experience some frustration or some sense of overwhelmedness when they're online banking, and it's an opportunity for that industry to really understand that and to see what peak times of the day or during the week when that happens most acutely, and address those issues either with customer service, 800 numbers, or chats and things like that.